And greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the YSLC podcast. So this is our very first episode. My name's Milan. I'm your host for today, and I'll be joined by...
I am Nakamonsengo or Fafa.
And...
I am MJ. I am your other host beside Milan.
So, me and MJ, we are from the Youth Service and Leadership Council. So, if you guys haven't figured out who we are yet, we are an independent international student council, and we'll be joined by Fafa, who is from...
I am from MPA, which is essentially an organization intended in spreading MUN literacy in Thailand. Yeah, and we have many projects regarding MUN, including turning MUN into a parliamentary system.
So, if you don't mind me asking, Fafa, before we get into our spicy agenda for today, would you mind elaborating what you guys do exactly? With, turning MUN into, parliamentary stuff?
Oh, definitely. So, MPA, we had this original idea that MUN is mostly people representing countries. However, we were at a certain MUN and we had this idea of what if MUN included a parliamentary system? What if it was implemented in a way in which individuals represent provinces of Thailand instead? Hence, MPA was born. We wanted students to try and represent provinces within Thailand because it's essentially the nation that we're living in. And we find that there's lack of knowledge within that realm of what provinces in Thailand actually do. So yeah, that's why we started MPA. But after a while, we kind of branched out into doing MUN in general and improving people's knowledge of what MUN is. Yep,
I
that's
see. I mean, it's a pretty good deal, and also so pretty much you guys kind of simulate the Thai House of Representatives, right? Kinda.
Yes,
That was the
essentially. Yeah, kind of. We've hosted 2 proper conferences before within the school, but hopefully, if we do get enough resources, we'd eventually include it as an intra-school conference.
I see. Well, I suppose I suppose the questions that the topics that we'll be discussing today would probably fill in with the goals of both of our organizations as well. For example, YSLC, we do have an MUN subdivision, and we are currently working on a conference as well in a few months. And yeah, I think we do have quite a fair bit of things in common. And I guess for the topic that we'll be talking about today, it does involve the stuff that we work on as well. For I suppose let's start with our first one. So we as we were discussing previously before we started, you mentioned something about there being a lack of education within financial literacy within the current education system in Thailand, right, Fafa?
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, to give a bit of background, financial literacy has been something that we in MPA have discussed to be a question for our conferences in the future as well. That's why I think it'd be a good topic to discuss today because I think it definitely fulfill your YSLC goals as well, right, Milan?
Certainly, and a main thing about YSLC is well that we do help out the poor quite a fair bit, and what we end up finding in a lot of these projects, for example, in our food projects to Hornbong train station, that these people they aren't really educated at all in terms of managing their finances as well, and also even those in politics, they don't really allocate the appropriate finances to help out those who are in need right now. MJ, would you like to add anything?
Not right now.
Okay, so yeah, it does fit with us quite a fair bit as well, and also it does fit with what we have seen through our projects, going straight out there on our own.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really interesting topic that we discuss today because, especially within schools, even if you're in an international school, you don't get educated enough on this topic, which is extremely essential to live in the future. It's essentially a real life skill that gets neglected a lot. So I'm really glad that we're able to discuss this today.
So, in my opinion, I feel I do agree that it's very neglected, but I think that it's not just a problem in Thailand as well. So for me, I have gotten a scholarship to a United World Colleges, and even there, like from the courses that you take in IB, they don't exactly teach you how to manage your finances that well, unless you take IB IB business and to a certain degree like economics. Besides those, like they don't really give you any courses, or
Mm.
at least from my campus. So yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
it's currently lacking, and especially like from my time when I was in Sarasate school, so it's more like a Thai system. I mean, they do
Mm.
have this subject called like occupational and technology class where they try to teach you about jobs, but they don't. They still do not teach you about, like, for example, how do you pay your taxes and how to manage your income, etc.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think what a lot of people misunderstand about financial literacy, imagine me doing like quotation fingers right now. So, I think a lot of people misunderstand that financial literacy just means that, like, oh, you need to be able to know how to save up your money and not spend it on wasteful and useless stuff. It's not all what financial literacy is. So, it financial literacy is actually quite a huge word. It actually also talks about how do you pay your taxes, um, reinvesting the money that you get when you do jobs and stuff like that, which I believe are really essential skills because a lot of people believe money as a solid thing that can't be like made fluidly. I think if you reach that pro dad, it'd be a really good example to help you fully understand this. But yeah, financial literacy in general is your ability to not hold money as a thing that's like a stone. Your ability to like reinvest it, your ability to like use it properly is also financial literacy, which yeah, I believe is like really, really important.
And which is why, like, so I used to study at Singapore International School of Bangkok. So one of our teachers, because of a lack of financial literacy in Thailand overall, and also like with the students in the school, he said, why not start like a club like where he would teach us how to invest our money. And I feel like
Mm.
maybe like schools should consider like maybe starting those as like proper like solid clubs that the school does support, so that like teachers who have experience or like students will be able to learn how to also invest that money.
Mm. Wait, so your teacher wanted to like start a club about investing?
Oh, he
Yes,
did.
I was actually a
Oh,
part of that club.
wow. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really interesting. Tell me more about that actually. Because my school, like, there has been no initiative. We have tried pushing forward for a club like that, but there are already too many. So yeah, do tell me more about that.
So in SISB, well, when me and MJ, when we were still there, the school did also say that they have a lot of clubs already. But so our physics teacher, he was like, I'm just gonna do it anyways. And like it's not a school sponsored thing, so like he decided to start it on his own after like there
Mm.
were a lot of interest from the students. And also like he also has quite a lot of experience with investments as well. So like it's more of like a students and teacher thing. And what would happen is that I think it's every, what was it, Wednesday or Thursday? It has been like a year. Yeah, I can't remember. But like we would go to his lab and we would practice. Well, we would learn like like theory in terms of like in terms of investing, and he would also like have us like go out and try this website. Wait, let me just try to pull up the name of the website right now. Give me a moment.
Mm.
But so he would let us use this website where like it's not real money, it's fake money, but like we get to practice investing without having to put our money into it as well, and also just
Oh.
to have some financial incentives for us to like try and earn a lot of money in investing. He at the end of the year, he would give us like a prize of 1,000 baht if we have the most money.
Ah, I see. Okay, you see, like, this is where I think that you guys are really lucky to have that teacher in your school. Like, I don't think that like many students get the chance to have that kind of teacher or even know that this is really important in the first place. So the fact that your SISB teacher made that club, I think really did change a lot of people's lives. Maybe they don't realize it yet, but yeah, it will. And yeah, I think it's really important that someone or at least a staff member or board of the school realizes the importance of financial literacy. Yeah.
Hmm. And I also feel like, for example, when I was in SISB, where this was not sanctioned by the school, it's just the teacher doing it on his own
My
accord.
goodness.
I feel like schools, like they should support more clubs of this style. So like maybe it doesn't have to be just about finances, or like maybe like the school could also do a course, maybe like before the student graduates, they could teach them like how like the tax system of Thailand works, or like maybe the pastoral end of the school could work on something like this as well, as like they help, like for example, when I'll bring this up again, when I was in SISB and now when I'm in UWC, they help you with like your career choice, but they don't seem to teach you how to do your taxes at all as well. So like maybe on that end would also be quite important.
Mm. Do you think it should be something that's included within a school's curriculum or more of a club kind of thing?
Well, in terms of like investing, maybe it could be more of a club thing, because like there are a lot of people like how do I say, with my experiences, like so from with my experience, okay, I'm not saying that this is everyone, but for
Mm.
example, like people who are born of a more privileged background, they would care more on like how to run their own business that they would inherit from their family once they have graduated, for example. So like maybe we could have something more like dedicated towards that, like running a business. And then, like for those who are interested in doing investments as well, that should also be a club of its own. But in terms of like the core
Mm.
basics of like doing your taxes and all, I personally believe that maybe it would be better to like have it as a part of the curriculum itself, just so that like everyone has the basics.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And especially because, like, okay, there are many different types of schools in Thailand, right? You've got the international schools, you've got the private schools and Thai schools. I think the ability in which they have to implement such an education within their school system are different, right? I think it kind of touches on the last topic that we're going to discuss today. But yeah, we'll get into that later. I think because of that, right, they have a different amount of budget that they may allocate someone to dedicate time towards educating people on that topic in the first place. So, yeah, I think it really, really takes someone to show the staff member and faculty how important it is in the first place. Because actually, like, I'm someone who would not have even heard of the importance of financial literacy if it wasn't for, researching on my own and reading books on my own. So I had to try and find platforms online like Set, Click to Win to try and kind of learn how the stock market works, which I know it's something that it's kind of hard, when you're trying to watch YouTube videos and visit all these websites to properly learn how to do it. And it's really essential that you have someone to guide you within that essence, someone who's kind of know what they're doing to kind of help you speed up that process.
I agree, and I just found the name of the app that the teacher made us all in the investment club use. It is not the app, the website Investopedia, and then we would look at stocks from TradingView. So yeah, that's what we used, and I do agree from what you say as well, because like once again, like a lot of us, I mean, sure, some of us will be able to figure it out later, but also like we should also understand that like, that not everybody will go on to for example for a bachelor's degree, and some people might go straight to the workforce after high school, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if they were not taught, for example, like from their experiences doing university, and like if they, like for example, once they're done with grade 12, then they go straight into the workforce, they could also be instantly overwhelmed with how to manage their finances as well.
Mm-mm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think you have a point there. And I think that we, in a sense, are privileged that we even hear about this in the first place and that we go to institutes and we meet people and we're surrounded by people that are willing to discuss this as a topic. Because being informed is essentially a really important thing if we're to discuss this. Um, I think you can imagine walking the streets of Thailand, and out of all those 100 people that you see that day, how many people do you think are actually informed of the importance of learning how to reinvest your money, learning that real estate is important, that it's essential to create assets and minimize liabilities. How many people do you think know that? It's actually really limited within today's society.
So, well, according to the United Nations, as they were quoting the World Bank's Gini index. So, if it's zero, it means that how to say zero means that it is like perfect equality, and 100 is perfect inequality. Thailand currently, well, not currently, back in 2018, had a Gini index of 36.4. So that's fourth in terms of income inequality in ASEAN. And like maybe it doesn't exactly show that like that people in Thailand don't really know how to manage their money, but it does show that like for example, like people in Thailand, they may not be like like alternatives towards like finding income into Thailand outside of, for example, like working like a daily job in Thailand, for example. And also, like, we could also see this play into effect as well if we like now. I'm not gonna quote any numbers, but more on like personal opinion and observations here. But say, for example, whenever I would go go outside, especially like, if I'm near like the more like center regions of Bangkok, we could see that people spend money on things that they probably shouldn't. I mean, like, for a country like, for example, Thailand, right, which is a developing country, we seem to have a love for luxury cars for some reason.
Well, yes, because well, it's something that's I think kind of ingrained within our society to pursue something that others would admire to because it's essentially associated with status, fake status in the first place. Which kind of ties into our second topic at hand today, following trends of like, oh, I'm richer than you just because I have this designer bag. I'm more financially well off because I'm able to afford this car, which yeah, it's definitely something that people would like to pursue because they think that it's something that's sort of a status symbol, and it makes them think that if others have it, why shouldn't I have it?
And like with regards to this, like how do you say, like this is also like, for example, in Thailand, right? I think Thailand is a country that how do you say, I guess it's fares off better than most countries in terms of like being reliant on multinational companies. Like we do have like a lot of domestic products, but I see that like a lot of our domestic products are not being supported because of said trends, especially in the youth, for example. Like I don't know, for some reason, but like the youth see like, well, not maybe not all of us, but to a certain degree, like we have people like here like ingrained in our society is that like we would like flex just because like we have this like for example, like some expensive watch from the West or something. Or like let me think, like if we just use like this certain brand of like skincare or whatever, even though like, or like, some sort of like even like
Yeah, like
shampoo and
this
like
bag is
normal
better
things.
than yours.
Yes. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I feel like with regards to this, right, I it doesn't really, it doesn't just affect like in terms of like how well we use our money, but it also affects like the support for our domestic products as well. For example, like for some reason Thai people seem to, or not Thai people, but like the more like how do I say, like a lot of people from what I've seen, they would rather, for example, like use a more expensive product just because like it's more popular, it's on like an advertisement more, rather than to use something that's maybe a bit cheaper. It's like like maybe it might be a bit cheaper. It's like domestically produced, and like they don't see it that much. They don't seem to exactly trust those as well, just because like there's not as much recognition.
Mm, yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Also, the societal factor that plays a role towards like making people want to make those decisions to buy those things in the first place. Example, like you're taught this from generations to come. If your parents have a mindset in a certain way of how they view money and its usage, then the children are most likely to have and inherit those mindsets. If not exactly the same, but something similar. It's something that's definitely passed down. So I think a way in which we can tackle the root causes of these issues is to try to change the mindset of not just the youth but older generations as well. Yeah, though, yes, it may take more effort, just because they've lived many years and have had experiences with these things. But I think it's definitely something that would definitely be helpful in tackling this issue in the first place.
I agree as well, but also, like, if you don't mind, I'm gonna bring out something that's a bit more controversial, in my opinion, as well. With regards to this, is also like the fact that,
Yes, we
I
love that.
mean, I mean, let's just be honest here, guys. A lot of us are addicted to social media,
Exactly.
and the fact that, like, I say, like, a lot of these people, they feel like, for example, if they post something that's like fancy or expensive, right, they get a lot of likes, gets shared a lot, and then now you have like sometimes people would feel like a societal pressure to maybe like fit in, for example. Like,
Yes. Yes.
yes.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? They think that how can I have money to be like them? How can I buy something like them? So this is what they do, right? Like you said, they see something expensive on social media and they think, oh, I want that too, I want to have that too. So what do they turn to? They Google how to make $1 million in YouTube. First video that pops up, some Gen Z YouTuber trying to sell their drop shipping course, which essentially is something that is trying to solve the problem. However, it's not exactly tackling it in a long term kind of way. And okay, if we're talking controversial, let's be honest, it's like a lot of the content on YouTube and a lot of the content that the generation these days can find is somewhat a scam, right? So yeah, it's essential that people be informed of that.
And like also like with the current culture of us like having like for example like quick like like quick like or like fast fashion or whatever that term is, like
Yeah.
we're also creating a lot of waste as well. But like but by doing so, like that's not also that would definitely not help. Like especially with like today where we're trying to reach many sustainable like development goals, like we're trying to like create less waste. I do believe that like by doing this, like it's just gonna create more waste as well, and like also I believe that like a main driving force behind like not just the youth, but also like older people falling into these trends is that they also have like a fear of missing out, and also like
Exactly.
this false perception that, for example, like whatever is popular in the West should be popular here too, or like say for example what is popular in a neighboring country, or like from someone you should follow suit as well because like you fear that you will miss out on something.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like you said, fast fashion is definitely a huge issue that contributes to why people spend their money on stuff without thinking twice just because it's on trend. Also, we're branching into another realm right here, which is it's something that causes environmental problems as well. Because yeah, I think you kind of know how fast fashion, a lot of clothing is discarded. I don't know the exact stats, but I think actually I'll pull some out right now. Okay, I'll find some stats.
Yeah, and like how you say, like with regards to trends, I mean, like while you bring up like some stuff on the production and usage, and I would like us to, I would like us to also maybe talk about the more, um,
Okay, you know,
obscure trends,
okay,
TikTok
sure.
challenges
Bring them
and
on,
YouTube
bring them on.
challenges.
Uh-huh.
So with regards to those, like, I feel like a lot of like people these days they're trying to do like more. Should we call them obscure or should we call them like
Well,
uh
I mean, obscure, unique, quirky. I don't know. Obscure, sure.
well, yeah, I guess we can call it obscure, but sometimes I would say like extreme challenges. It's also because like I feel like today a lot of us are like a lot of us are like are placing an emphasis on like how popular one person is, and like how like a lot of us like today like I mean let's just be honest here. We're also trying to do this, but like I understand that a lot of us Gen Z or Gen Zs, we're trying to be popular. I get it, right? Like I think that's just reality. Like I mean that's the
Well,
whole.
yeah, it's ingrained within our human nature to actually be accepted within society. So yeah, I definitely understand why people post these challenges and in social media. Um, Essentially like those ones that are extremely extreme in hopes of getting likes and views. It's something that some of them they go way too far to do it.
Yes, and by doing so, like it is creating quite a fair bit of problems. And in my opinion, with regards to this, like the main cause of this could also just be that but this can also just be like people like they're trying to get attention, and maybe that might hint towards something that's more like an issue in their like respective communities as well as like maybe like they might not have like received enough attention from their own community, for example, because like people who would do these, they're usually not like the people who like like who would be like who would be like popular in person already if they have already like received the warmth that they would do normally, if you get where I'm going. So
Well, yeah, I think you've seen those videos on maybe YouTube Shorts or TikTok or maybe even Instagram Reels where someone recreates a food item in which they waste food. Have you seen those?
could you
The one in
elaborate?
which, like, the ones where they try to recreate a giant milkshake and they waste so much chocolate inside. The one where they pour mugs and mugs of chocolate inside. Anyhow, so essentially, have you seen those?
No, I haven't, but that sounds a bit crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, anyhow, the point is, people try to do things. In that example, for instance, they're essentially wasting food. And the thing that makes me sad about that is that that video itself has like 14 million likes, which actually incentivizes them to recreate that type of video more in the first place. So I stalked this person's feed and they have like around 10 videos about them wasting like 10 kilograms of food in one video. And in those videos, I always see them have like 100K plus likes, which I find it to be somewhat saddening because if we're trying to like unpromote that behavior in the first place, it needs to stop with the people in general, the likes that they're getting, because that's how they make money. Why would I stop? Okay, if I'm the YouTube channel owner, I'd be like, why would I stop if people are liking what I post? Why would I stop if people like me wasting this 10 kilograms of food in the first place? I think it's really something that has to do with how people interact and how people view them doing these things in the first place.
I do agree as well, and also like today we also have like a rise. Like I mean, also like I guess I am like the only guy in this podcast right now, but I feel like also like a problem right now is that like like mental health, like also like also people have this misconception that like guys have to be tough and all and stuff, and the thing is that's not the truth. Okay, like I think that ship sank a while ago. So
Yeah.
like a problem is like today, for example, I mean it's both guys and girls, but for example, like for guys who like have been suffering from mental health issues, some of them like they also start to like resort to sources that don't exactly solve their problem, but rather like they vent those issues to someone else. Like for example, the trend of a certain American YouTuber that now lives in Romania. I will not mention his name, but because I did not want a bunch of his fans to go kill me again. But I think we know who I'm talking about, right, guys?
I think so.
Kid of a chess master.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I think we know. So yeah, like you said, stuff like that is definitely something that is concerning. Also, yeah, there are even more examples of that. Of a certain individual with okay, again, I'm not gonna mention the name because yeah, like you said, fans will come at us. A certain YouTuber that, you know, smokes a cigar and has a bald head. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I think. Wait, isn't that the same person?
Is it?
Is it?
Lives in Romania?
Can you just send the thing to me real quick if you don't mind? Actually, send it in the chat. But yeah, like a problem is also is like a lot of the causes for these people going to like these bad sources of influence is also the fact that like mental health within like within this generation has been declining significantly compared to before. So like this drives people to maybe go to like sources of influences and following trends that perhaps our generation we probably shouldn't be doing. Like for example, the example that I mentioned, you shouldn't be doing like misogynistic stuff. Like that is not acceptable. Yet people of today are following that kind of person because like they give them some sort of like quote unquote solution or like explanation for like their
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of them are kind of highly glamorized and yeah, like you said, people look to them as an idol. People look at them as someone who can be followed, like someone who can be respected for their accomplishments and stuff. And I think a lot of this time, okay, I think we've kind of touched on this before, but a lot of this stuff on social media is somewhat an exaggeration of what is in real life. And yeah, and people like these, they don't care because essentially their goal is also to, make money, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, it's essential that people do realize that and actually turn to sources that might help them in the long run instead of using this as like a coping mechanism for their mental health.
Mm-hmm. I do agree. MJ, would you like to add something?
No.
No? Okay. All right, so your mic is working now, right? Okay.
Yep, I
It
just
was
got it to
broken
work.
for quite a while.
I apologize about that. I've been trying to work on it for like 30 minutes because my dad messed up my setup.
No, no worries, no worries.
Yeah, no worries. Deadmicrophones.exe. Well, I guess like to summarize this topic that we have been talking about, I think pretty much I guess like it's like the main cause of it is just like in terms of like culture like that comes from our like our I say like older
The society,
generations. Yep, and also the fact that we don't really have a venue like to vent out our mental health, which is why I think that, for example, in YSLC, right? So what we're doing in YSLC Eswatini and YSLC Mozambique right now is that we're working with like our respective schools. We have connections to over 10 schools in both countries, and like we're trying to like we send out this form just to check out on students to see like how they're doing mentally, and we do not share this with our respective schools. So like I mean like we don't share their identity, of course. So then we would bring out a summary, and then like we try to bring this to like a respective school's like student council or like the school like counseling team, and we try to work with them to make like maybe address students who might need help, and like see who might need like our attention and comfort. Because even in places like, for example, a United World College, there would always be someone who feels like maybe a bit left out, who's a bit lonely. And like if we do like address that as well, that wouldn't solve the problem entirely, but that would also lessen the amount of people who might go to sources of like bad influence, or people who are like trying to do more extreme things to gather attention, for example.
Yeah, I think that is a really great idea. Like, it's an initiative that even though might not solve the problem entirely, of course, there will be other steps that need to be taken once you do those surveys. Like, what do you do with them after you know that they don't have proper mental health, yada yada yada. Like, at least you provide the school with the necessary information to know about the students in their school. And I think that's really important for schools to consider as well.
Mm-hmm. And also aside from that, for like for adults and like and young adults, I do believe that, for example, like especially in Thailand, like maybe like the Ministry of Health should maybe consider adding, for example, like therapy support under the 20 baht card thing for our like universal healthcare program, for example. And I do believe that, for example, like society, we should like maybe consider like that it is like a very big and important issue right now, not just with Thailand, of course, but like for example in Thailand we see that the entire world, right? And like we are having like especially with like Gen Z, we need mental health support. So like maybe we should like also try to encourage lawmakers and also, for example, those involved with hospitals and healthcare to maybe consider adding more funding or like support in terms of this area as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because definitely mental health is like a root cause for many issues. Not just for the issue that we're discussing today, financial literacy, but for other problems like bullying, projection on social media, overusage. It's like a root cause of many, many things. And if we find a way to tackle that, we could essentially solve multiple issues that are within our status quo right now.
I do agree. Like, for example, if we perhaps, like, in our respective local communities, right, we try to be more inclusive, we try to, like, give attention to everyone, especially to those who, like, who don't really go out and talk. Cough, cough, pretty much us. But, like, maybe those who, like, those who don't, like, really go out and talk, like, if we give them some attention, we give them some comfort, maybe that might not, like, that might drive them to not feel left out. So that they don't have to like go buy like really expensive things, go try to like do extremely like crazy challenges just so that they fit in. Maybe we should
Yeah,
like as a
exactly.
society
Like,
also like open up to them as well.
like small actions can go a long way.
And like in terms of like more how to say more on the financial end of following trends, I do believe that like these two like first two topics do tangle quite a fair bit, as if people are perhaps more informed and like possess a greater degree of financial literacy, they might be able to like perhaps abstain from joining a trend or creating a trend that might affect them negatively in terms of their finances.
Yeah. And the word trend in the first place extends to like many things, like it could also mean people doing drugs. Example, like if you're in a social circle in which your friends do drugs, essentially you are more inclined to follow the trend within your social circle. Hence you'd use your money to go buy those drugs. So it's essential that we teach people to be able to recognize that, okay, the trend within their social circle is something that should not be followed, and it is something that they should be able to be in a mindset where they're able to have enough courage and have enough mental assurance to get out of that and deal with it in the best way possible.
I do agree, and also we kind of forgot to discuss about this, but also like especially with like recent events, like especially especially like with wars and like and conflicts, especially for in our like for our neighbors, for example, in Myanmar, those in like also like those in Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and like news from these areas, right? Because also like the thing about the youth is that like, and also this also applies to older generations, that like we usually follow trends on social media that the algorithm of that platform supports, and that really leads to a lot of misinformation as well.
Yeah, because like information that we see is often not the one that we exactly control. So we have to be mindful of that in the first place.
Yes, which is why I do believe that perhaps it is very important for us as like the youth to maybe increase awareness of like, for example, people to perhaps consider more than just one source to receive their news from, for example, and also just to for example, awareness could also help with like them to abstain from trends that maybe aren't the best for them, for like in terms of perhaps it doesn't have to be information, doesn't have to be wealth, but for example, health. There was this weird trend of people licking things that they were not supposed to be. If we spread awareness that perhaps that's very bad for your physical health, maybe like with the spread of awareness, we could maybe promote like trends that are good for us, and also
Yeah,
like
yeah,
discourage
like
trends that aren't good for us. For example, team trees.
yeah, let's go, Mr. Beast. But
Yes.
like you said, oftentimes people know already that those things are bad for them. Like it's in their mind already somewhere, but they just don't choose to let that part of their mind come into fruition. Like who doesn't know that licking things are bad for you? It's something that they know already, yet they choose to follow, and it really perplexes me sometimes at why they go to such an extent, maybe to gain clout on social media, maybe to be accepted within their social circle. It's something that is quite perplexing sometimes.
Well, for me, I would disagree a bit. For example, like for kids, with like for example, Gen Alpha or like people who just became like teenagers or like 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, they do not exactly know everything yet. And seeing these trends around, it does give them a false perception that perhaps this is a good thing to do. And by doing so, like it really like it is quite actually a danger to themselves as well, and also people in their surroundings. Which is why I do believe that perhaps spreading awareness, especially to those who do not understand it yet, that hey, this is dangerous or for like this trend. However, maybe do a different trend instead that might be better.
Yeah, like on the part where they're like you said, they aren't mentally developed enough to recognize that that's a bad thing in the first place, plays a role to why they do it, is definitely like something that really contributes to this issue. Though like yeah, there are people who would still do it even if we try to educate them that it's not exactly the best thing to do. Yeah, but hence I still think that like you said, it's something that we can at least make an effort in educating people in.
I do agree, and I just hope that Gen Alpha won't be posting some obscure TikTok reels outside from those like dances. But I do hope that it doesn't get this far as well for them as well. Let's hope. Let's hope that our work would pay off.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of trends, I mean, currently, like, I think all three of us. Fafa, have you experienced a Thai school before, or never?
Yes, I've actually studied in a Thai school from when I was in kindergarten until I was in grade 6.
I see. For me, it was kindergarten until grade 9. So I think we all do agree here that like the trend in Thailand right now is that like international schools and international school students, they kind of have to a certain degree a monopoly over, for example, in initiating or like initiating projects in service or like youth leadership or like receiving
Mm-hmm.
fame and funding from it. Compared to like before, I would like to bring an example from my dad's class. My dad used to study at Pathumongkha University. So like
Mm-hmm.
back then, like I mean, back then it was still like kind of like ish prestigious ish, not too much, but like back then at least, like for example, if they do like a project, right, they don't have a like there is no like monopoly. But again, it makes sense that back then we don't really have any international schools. But back then, like they would like for example, like for them, they would go out and like launch projects to they still do it now, by the way, alums from his class. They would go to Jantaburi to Wat Sangwan with 6 schools and also like schools around there as well to conduct like community service there. And
Mm-hmm.
like compared to, for example, today, where like with our classes today, like we don't really see Thai schools up there unless it's like Tiamudom Siksa or something up there, like
Mm-hmm.
doing like the major like service or like youth leadership projects or like MUN, for example. And even if Thai schools do it, they don't really receive any recognition as much as before.
Well, yeah, because I think one of the things concerning that is the language barrier in which is established. Essentially, when international schools or maybe EP programs within schools construct leadership programs, something like Model United Nations in the first place is derived from other countries, and it's something that has been more established in other countries before it even came to Thailand in the first place. So I think that those concepts like that, the fact that it's in English, also plays a role within why Thai schools don't really get much recognition for it. Because me and myself, I actually went to Anuban Sarathani, which is essentially like a rural school in a rural province, a Thai school, completely Thai school. And at that time, I have not even heard of something such as Model UN, or Scholars Cup, or Duke of Edinburgh, something like those that include leadership is something that is definitely unheard of. In which maybe it's just my experience, but I know that a lot of my friends who are in the Thai community in the first place, they don't even have the chance to hear about these things and these events in which ignites people to have leadership skills in the first place. So I think the lack of that within Thai school communities is not only because of the language barrier, but also because of, I think, because of the curriculum that has been implemented for many, many years already.
Although, in my opinion, I would disagree a bit. For example, like for like Thai schools and Thai private schools, right? Those who, for example, who have EP programs, or maybe those who don't even have them. If you have like for example, a competition, maybe an impromptu speech one, for example, a debate one, or like a more academic one, for example. I've been to a few of these hosted by the Ministry of Education. The thing is that it seems like between like these more Thai-based schools and these international schools, they don't exactly know each other at all. For example, I have been to like the Ministry of Education impromptu speech competition, for example, but I have never heard of, for example, a friend of mine. She used to be in SISB who does debate as well, and we have never heard of each other, like previously, like, ever. It's and also like in the schools list, for example, the ones like that Thai schools go to are completely different most of the time to those that international schools go to, even if both of them are around like similar topics as well, and even if both of them are in English. So like,
So you disagree that international and Thai school kids, they don't have exposure to each other's leadership program? Is that what you're trying to say?
yes, that is my opinion so far, because like from my experiences, like back in 2019, for example, I had to debate against I have to speak against compete with someone from Kung Thep Kittian, from Assumption, from Temudom Suksa, for example, and I didn't really see any international schools.
Well, yeah. In that case, if we were to think of like leadership opportunities as a two-way program, I think that's what you're trying to say, and I actually believe in that also, because like there are also opportunities in which high students get, in which maybe students in private schools or international schools are unable to reach to. So in terms of us talking about leadership and youth leadership and service opportunities as a monopoly, I think it really depends on the type of leadership and what exactly qualifies as leadership in general in this topic today. Because if it's like leadership as in like, oh, president of the school, vice president, student council, yada yada yada, um, high schools actually have those within their schools already. However, if it's like opportunities that are only limited to international students, then there are also then obviously international students would be the monopoly there. But if it's like an opportunity that's only limited to Thai school, I know there are a few competitions like the 14 จังหวัด ภาคใต้ speech competition. It's limited to only Thai schools. So essentially, it's like leadership programs within Thai schools are like limited in Thai schools. So it's a monopoly there as well.
Certainly, and in my personal opinion, I also feel like for example, right, like, so when it comes to like in terms of leadership projects, yes, but for example, if we want to do like, for example, a service project is generally more publicized. For example, if you go through like more of like an international school field, for example, if you get where I'm going, or like maybe if we like, for example, just like go into like, for example, something back towards leadership, like with debate competitions, for example.
Yeah.
And like, for example, like it like in international school students, or like schools that are like very famous Thai schools, they generally get more chances to go, for example, for like more like they get more opportunities to go for like international
debates.
competitions. Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's something like competitions also qualify as like leadership skills, and also something that has, I think, would be more prevalent within the international school and private school entities is the creation of YSLC, MPA, Spreading Sunshine, revision success non-profits. And why is that the issue? Like, non-profits are more prevalent within international school communities. Do you believe that's the case?
Well, I do believe that's the case, but maybe I'm about to like bring my own experiences for it. For example, YSLC, I have floated ideas since when I was in Sarasas. However, like
Mm-hmm.
an issue with Thai schools are like they don't tend to support these projects, and thus giving international schools a monopoly for it because like maybe they might not be it might not fit the views of the curriculum, or they are just not like they're just not able to do so for like
Mm.
through financial constraints, for example.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, if we're talking about leadership in the non-profit type of realm, so we're also talking about like different organizations in which students self-establish, right? So why do students establish these nonprofits in the first place? Like, okay, I know YSLC has been something that you wanted to do because you wanted to do good in the world, right? That's essentially how a lot of nonprofits start, like because you want to do more good in the world, whether it be spreading more literacy on something, helping donate food, something like that. However, what I've seen has been a pattern among a lot of high school students has been students creating nonprofits for something called university applications. Because essentially, when you look into that, okay, I've been someone who has also been like studying what universities look for, and a lot of the students who go to these universities, oftentimes they own like a couple of nonprofits doing something, which is something that I believe is a huge motivational factor for people to do because I want to start this nonprofit because I want to show my um, judges to go into the universities that I am passionate about this thing. It's something that people establish because they believe it give them a higher ground for university. Hence, I think a lot of international school kids they establish let's not say a lot of people a certain portion of international school kids the reason that they establish nonprofits in the first place is because of university because it's something that helped them stand out. It's something that the Ivies, it's something that universities in the US especially are looking for within a student because nonprofits are something that they value. Whereas if you're from a Thai school, right, you don't have to exactly do that because Thai universities don't exactly value extracurriculars like nonprofit as much as universities, say, in the US or Canada, because it's 50% extracurriculars, 50% grades in the US. Yeah, that's just something that has been like circling my brain of why nonprofits mostly exist within the international school kids community.
I do agree as well, and also because, like, for example, like universities in Thai, they also place more of an emphasis on, on like more academic side. I guess it is also like why, for example, the Ministry of Education, for competitions that they offered, they would focus more on academics, so sciences, English, etc., etc., rather than, for example, like MUN
Mm-hmm.
or like supporting non-profits, and also like for most international curriculums they also kind of force you to do non-profit work as well. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, for my experience in a United World College, you need to start at least one service project under the CAS umbrella, and
Mm-hmm.
you need like, and back to when I was in SISB, you need like to fill in a certain amount of hours of doing community service as well for you to graduate from the school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for services though, I think a lot of Thai schools actually have programs for you to do that. Um, like I know for when I was studying in a Thai school, we had like days where we would go volunteer at a shelter, and we had to like go and plant plants somewhere. Which is like a type of service. I think it really depends on the school in which you're in because some schools don't exactly have the opportunity for students to do that. It really depends on the policy of the school, I suppose. But I do definitely think that it should be increased, not just for the sake of like improving a student's character in general, but it also helps with the school and society in general in the long run.
Yes, I do agree, and also like I feel like, for example, for student like youth groups like YSLC or MPA, because like this problem is still pretty prevalent within Thailand. Perhaps we should also maybe partake in a more active role in maybe including, for example, Thai school students and international school students in events and in hosting events, in doing service in ways that where one or the other might not have the same, how do I say, the same credibility. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Gen Z's call it clout. Yeah, clout. If they don't have enough clout, for example, or like they might not know of like one on the other, then maybe we could do something like that instead. For example, like with YSLC, we were able to get a few Thai school students from Sarasas and Matade to experience MUN for the first time, for example.
Yeah. I think it's really essential that us international school kids collaborate with Thai school kids, sharing of resources, because I think a thing that really plays a key role towards whether you are put in a leadership position in the first place is social network, and which is something that I believe if Thai school kids and international kids could overcome some differences and are able to share on those, it definitely contribute to the betterment of society. Like social networks, as in like international kids. Okay, let's be honest. We only know international school kids because we are in an international school community. Thai school kids know mostly Thai kids. If we're able to create something that can overcome the language barrier in which we can communicate in both Thai and English in the first place, then it'd be definitely something that's helpful. Like if we were to create a program, for example, we can also have it in Thai so that people from a Thai school say can understand what's going on and what we're doing in the first place and have an opportunity to know about it. Hence, yeah, people in a Thai school, I think it really be helpful if we encourage them to make it in English, make some of the activities that they're doing in English in the first place.
I certainly agree. And for example, for what we've done in YSLC, well, not YSLC Thailand yet, but for example, in YSLC Mozambique, what we did was we started to to work in two languages. So in Mozambique, they speak Portuguese. So the main operating language of YSLC Mozambique is Portuguese, but we still keep the English part so that we can communicate with the other branches of YSLC, for example. And sorry, my sincere apologies for that. And for example, for Thailand, for example, right, we could maybe also like try to maybe instead of like of just creating networking, we should also like try to find ways to create like joint projects that like
Mm-hmm.
deliberately puts a Thai school with an international school, so that like maybe we
Yeah,
could work
yeah.
on
I've
something like
actually
that.
been, uh-huh. I've actually like been working on something that directly does that. So I have a nonprofit. It's called Spreading Sunshine, which is essentially to send cards to elderly people to give motivation. And a lot of elderly people have felt sadness because during the holidays they don't get enough attention whatsoever. So essentially, yeah, anyhow, I'm not gonna really get into that, but our first project was us Brighton College Bangkok collaborating with a Thai school, which is like essentially we take cards made by students from these two schools and send it to an elderly person's hospital. So yeah, I think it really made me happy in a sense that we were able to collaborate. So the the people in the elderly home, they were able to receive cards written in Thai from both international school kids and Thai school kids. Some there were a bit of English, but yeah, because our demographic is Thailand, we try to make the language in Thai. But yeah, I think it really made me happy that we were able to collaborate on something like that, especially when it's like on projects where it is possible to collaborate like that. Like anyone can send cards, anyone can write something motivational to be like, hang on another day, or like um Happy New Year. It was like New Year's during that season. In the first place, if someone is able to do that, we should not limit it to only international school kids or Thai school kids, which is what I tried to do with my friend Pupa that time. It was successful, and yeah, I'm happy that it helped play a role in bridging the gaps.
Hmm. And also, like, this is what we have been doing in YSLC as well. As our like basis for our membership is, it consists of both Thai and international schools, and we try our best to bring both to for both kinds of projects. And one more thing though, like, that I've noticed, well maybe it's just like from UWC and SISB, but in, like, for example, international schools, they tend to like host projects where international school students, in terms of like big service projects, they would rather go with the school instead rather than trying to start something that's independent. Would you
Mm-hmm,
agree to this?
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm,
like I say, like for Thai schools, when we just started on this entire topic, I did mention how Patumongkar class of 19, I think 80 something. I can't remember. I'm sorry, I can't remember my dad's class.
yeah,
But
it's fine.
anyways, like, they would like in terms of their, well, from their time when they would do a service project, for example, right? They would go out and do it like on their own. It's like it's a like student owned thing. For example,
Mm-hmm,
what we did in, like, I think, like, for this, like, international school students, they don't really have experience doing. And what we have been doing
mm-hmm,
in YSLC is, like, we have been trying to start like our own, like, fully independent, like, bigger, like, service projects. Last year we did make an attempt to mimic what Patumongkas alums did. We went to Jan. It didn't went the way that we expected to go, but, like, I guess, like, that's all. That's also what happens when we have like a bunch of like mostly international school students who aren't really experienced with like running their own like service projects. But
mm-hmm.
I hope that like, as we work together to like maybe exchange, for example, like to like exchange our experiences, our knowledge in service and leadership, maybe it would be better for us to like integrate both, integrate both the international school student community with the Thai school student community. And I think, like,
Mm-hmm.
if we can do that, we can do quite a fair bit of things as well.
Yeah, I think that project is really good also because essentially you learn from each other, which is essentially the goal of like collaborating in the first place. You learn from each other, you share with each other what you can do better. It's like essentially the goal of like creating a community where something is not inclusive to one another. Uh, though it is, yeah, essential to recognize that sometimes it's like a certain competition or a certain type of program, it is limited to only Thai schools or only international schools in the first place, and it is being done for a reason. And yeah, I think it is important that we recognize that while also like addressing that where things can be a competition for all or things that can provide an opportunity for all. Yeah, it's essential that we turn it into something like that. Because example, right? Okay, if it's I did a startup competition last year. It was by Demodom, and essentially what they did was like at first it was only for 3M students. It was a competition on like making a business model. At first we were only allowed to submit their PowerPoint in Thai, but they needed some persuasion for us to be able to submit it in English. However, you can't do that if the people judging the PowerPoint in the first place do not understand English. So, yeah, it's essential that we recognize that barrier as well.
I do agree, and like, these, like, how I say, these barriers will be a problem, but I do believe that, like, the more, like, as we collaborate further and further, we might be able to like find solutions between the two communities that currently are kind of separate. Like, we can find ways to maybe work on like reducing those barriers. And, like, for example, if we really have people who can't speak English and people who can't really speak Thai, maybe like we could also try to encourage those who could maybe work as like in like as like people who might be able to like help work as translators as well, with this regard.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. Translators are yeah, really really essential in bridging towards someone who, there are international school kids who don't speak Thai. Maybe they're not Thai or maybe they weren't born in a family who are speaking Thai. So yeah, not just people who can't speak English, but people who can't speak Thai as well should be recognized.
Yes, and like with regards to this, like for example, in Thai schools, I would like to also mention the fact that like I think one of the main issues that they aren't able to do like for example these kind of projects is also because the fact that in Thai schools, I say like people who speak English like like predominantly English and people who speaks predominantly Thai, they have like their own like separate circles kind of thing. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That's just something that comes with like, oh, I speak Thai, you speak Thai, we gang together. So it's just natural, I guess.
yes. Although I wanted to also mention something that might be a bit of an issue with international schools doing like service projects. Like I think a lot of like well not a lot but like well from my experiences with like the two international schools that I have been to that I'm currently attending, a lot of these service projects they don't exactly are under the hand of the students, and sometimes like these projects they aren't exactly sustainable, and like sometimes
Mhm.
it might actually have some negative like consequences for both parties from like the students going there and also like those who are receiving it. So I do believe that like maybe it like international schools should also be held accountable like whenever they do like like service or like youth leadership projects, and also like the
Mhm.
students, and I do believe that the students should also be able to like take more of a part in maybe like giving their input and also like maybe criticizing something if something is for example going wrong. MJ,
I want
would
to
you
know
like
about.
to bring out your yes, Fafa?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. Just me being curious though. Like, what's the unsustainable thing that they're doing?
So for example, with my experiences in, I just say my last two school, or well, my school now and my last school, is that with these projects, for example, right? What they would do is that in one of these schools, they would hold like for example this Salvation Army project, so similar to a YSLC food project. What they would do is that they pretty much don't leave any of the planning to the students, and what they would do is that they would how to say like they would have them pretty much just chop up a bunch of stuff, and
Mm.
the funding, right, for example, it's not exactly consistent from what I've heard from the students involved with that project, for example. So like with that project, so like after that day that they do it, like it just like doesn't happen, like
Mhm.
they just do not receive any food, like well decent food after that. Or for
I see.
example, one of the projects I went to, the most we did was we just played with the students and that's it. Like we're not there to help them build anything that they could use. We're not really there to help like teach them any essential skills. We were just there to just like chill, walk around, play with kids, and that's about it. And I feel like that isn't exactly gonna be that much of a benefit as well. Like I mean, it is helping out the students. It's showing that it's telling them that like it's showing them that like for example they're not lonely, they're not alone. But
Mm.
the you like school shouldn't just say okay we will handle all the we'll just grab a bunch of money, buy them a bunch of balls to play with, and that's it. Like no, like come on, you get what I mean, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's just
I
good on paper. I get what you mean. It
yeah.
looks good on paper, but impact wise, like you said, it's something that ought to be looked at more.
Yes, and also sometimes they charge the student who are going to the service project some absurd amount of money. MJ, would you like to talk about this?
Yeah. So they didn't really do anything useful, and they were more they promoted it as student led, in quotation marks, student led. They said we're gonna do the planning, but then whatever we decided to do, us as students, we got shut down basically.
Yes, and I would like to say that I do relate with that. Even now that I have like even in those two schools that I've attended, so it's like they would say that, for example, like students have control, etc., 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 over like these. Well, it doesn't have to be just be service. For example, with MUN, they would say that like some schools, not every school, okay, some schools are like students have control, yada yada yada, and then sometimes the teachers or like the management would overrule the decision of the students, even if management or the teachers do not have exactly that much experience in the field. For example, I will not mention names, but with with not N, with two of the MUN clubs that I've been involved in, One of them, for example, the teachers kind of forced somebody who is not competent into the role of Secretary General, and that, well, didn't exactly end well for the MUN club, and like that overruled the decision of the council to choose someone else. And in another example, that there was also a time where in a different school where like the MUN club, the heads of them, they pretty much one of them have a conference experience of 0, and the teacher don't exactly, how to say it, they don't listen to the students who have much more experience, who want to help out with the MUN club, and let people who don't really have experience run the project, and that ends up causing a lot of problems, especially like for example when they try to host a conference, for example.
Yeah, that is really messed up. Like, okay, I think this is just a matter of like teacher decency in general. Of like, why would you not listen to someone who's been to more conferences? That's just a matter of human logic and decency in general. Like, it's yeah, it is something that yeah. Me personally, I haven't really like witnessed something to that extent before, but I do know it's not the first time that I've heard of something like this.
So I feel like how do you say, like it's not just international schools, but from what I've seen, it's more like from my experiences, like schools in general, if they're gonna have like a club, or like, you know, if they want to do a project with regards to service, or like youth leadership, or you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
something along those ends. I do believe that like maybe to help out with like the current issue, is that we should maybe be able to like hold them more accountable for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, like you said, it's essential that the people managing it are knowledgeable, or if they're not, admit it and let someone knowledgeable step in, hence a student who has done it before, or a student who has more experience than them within the topic at hand.
I do agree as well, and this is also why I feel like in the how I say, like youth leaders or like service community, like right now, we should also maybe there's a few hidden talents that we have not heard of before, or we have not seen of before. Maybe like we should like reach out, like, you know, to Thai schools who have their own circle, should connect their circuit with those of international schools, and maybe those like in charge, for example, like maybe it would be best for us to like maybe step down if we feel that like maybe this person might be better to actually lead it, even if they are a no name to us.
Mhm.
Maybe like they would be able to make more of an impact. I think we should be able to give chances to those who we don't know.
Yes, that's it. Giving chances is another important thing for leadership. Like, I know that within some clubs as well, it's all about striking a balance, about the person who's experienced in it and allowing other individuals to try out that position, to try out managing stuff. It's essential that we allow chances for people to learn within those positions. Like, it's not something that should only be limited to people who are the most experienced, but rather I think there should be more opportunity for people who have less experience, but maybe they're second most experienced, but they haven't tried this out yet. Um, Providing chances are extremely essential.
Yes, I do certainly agree. And with like regarding to providing chances, is also like maybe if we have like, for example, in the community, I understand that right now we have quite a fair bit of drama, don't we?
Well, fair is an understatement, but yeah.
Fair. It's look, here's the thing. Okay, like I did not like. Here's the thing. I was like more in the circle of like certain Thai schools, and, you know, like limited like international schools. And then when I joined the community, I'm like, oh, everyone is friendly. And then 5 months later, I'm like, oh dear, there's like a billion dramas here.
Well, yeah, it's not only something that's limited to international schools. Like, everywhere you go in the world, there will always be drama or challenges in which we face. And yeah, it's essential that we recognize it and not let that wear us down too much. It's something that it helps practice us for the future, you know, like you never know what you're going to face in life. You never know what you're going to face when you're in your 30s or 20s. It's something that helps you learn, you know. It's if you think of it that way and you think of life in a more optimistic kind of way, it helps you cope and it makes you a lot happier that you're able to hear of this and you're able to actually experience it because now you know and you can learn from it.
I agree, but also like the reason that I bring this up is because like I believe that we should forgive each other as well for these dramas. We shouldn't, for
Mm-hmm.
example, like if there's somebody like if it's something minor, like I don't know, like MUN chat GPT or like I don't know, like MUN pre lobbying, like come on guys, we are
Mm-hmm.
grown-ups. We should like, forgive each other and not like, kill each other over some tiny stuff that happened in a conference a while ago. Nor should we like, for example, kill each other for like, not or for failing to host a service project somewhere. For example, like
Mm-hmm.
I think like we should be able to more like, forgive each other. Even if like a project failed. Like even if like we, for example, failed to like help out a certain community or something, like and then we work together
Mm-hmm.
and like we have a disagreement. In the end, we should just forgive each other and try again, give it a second chance or a third chance, really. Because if we're here, like all of us here are trying to help out the community, are trying to help out each other, then maybe it's best that we don't hold these grudges and work together on these problems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with that comes with like changing your mindset in general and like being more, like you said, open-minded with it and taking away any feelings of jealousy which are causes in which you try to like find flaws in different people and try to exaggerate it and gossip about it. It's something that I think we can find and in the world in the first place, and yeah, it definitely exists within the MUN community and like in many communities as well. It's yeah, it's essential that we learn that those exist and yeah, do find a way to limit that because something like those, it's something that stems from like negative feelings towards that person sometimes, and it's normal. Okay, I get it. It's human behavior, but come on, guys, it's just basic human decency. So yeah, it's good that we can change it now before it's too late. Like we're individuals, which in within like high school and middle school. If it's something like this now, imagine what will happen when we're in like our 20s dealing with like job drama and whatever. It's not too late to change now.
And like as I said before, like in the end, we're all here to help out someone, right? Maybe, yeah, maybe our motives might be different. Maybe, for example, like one of us might want to do just because we want to do service, other for uni. In the end, as I said, like we're here to help out people. We're here to serve the community. We're here to unite people. So maybe it's best that we just stop dividing each other and yeah, act like grown-ups. And of course, like we shouldn't just also be like, dull and old and boring. Like, throw in some humor, throw in some like
Mhm.
jokes, etc. Like, like we can be a bit childish. Like we don't have to be corporate and boring and everything, but like, maybe like in terms of like grudges, yeah, like as you say, like it's normal. It's normal like human beings, but maybe try to like at least tolerate. Like we should try to at least tolerate each other so that we can work on something that's gonna work. That's gonna like help out people, and like with like the current the current system, right, of like how like we have pretty much like kind of like a two separate community of sorts when in terms like do like service or like youth leadership stuff.
Mhm.
And the thing
Mhm.
is, if we work together, right? If international schools with say like receiving more like international recognition and fame and also funding, right? Work with Thai schools who have more manpower and has been doing this like to a certain, well, depending on which community, they have been doing it like independently for a while now. If they work together, we could also create like a much bigger impact as well.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. We have to like learn to not only just appreciate each other's flaws, but yeah, love them for it. Okay, it's getting cliche, but it's just the truth. Like someone there's a saying that goes that like if you find yourself having no enemies, then you are boring. Then you don't have an impact. And I actually believe that in some extent that is actually true, because like in many times you find yourself in a situation where you don't know what a person felt about you saying something, or what a person felt about your actions on something, and you may never know. And yeah, going back to the first topic and second topic at hand, um because we don't know, right? A lot of people spiral into bad mental health, creating more and more problems for themselves in the first place. And yeah, so loving each other is, and appreciating each other's flaws is like the key to having a peaceful community.
I do agree. Well, this is currently not, it's not in the agenda, but I also believe that, like, for example, right, like with like to tackle the like these three main issues, I do also believe that maybe we should also, as the youth, right, we could work on maybe more international collaboration as well. For example, with like raising awareness to deal with financial literacy, and like, you know, like maybe like, you know, raising awareness on if a trend is good or bad. Maybe like we could work, you know, together with youth leaders from not just one country but like, you know, multiple countries, so that we can maybe try and tackle issues that are not just in like in our country, that like affects a region together. And I think it would be more effective if we can like do like everything together at once.
Mm-hmm. Yes, if you have a network and connections in other countries, it'd definitely be a huge helping factor if we were to start movement. Yeah, I think yeah, it's really essential that we not only try to do this in Thailand but overseas as well. I know YSLC has done that because you guys have many branches in many countries, right? And yeah, it definitely be something that we have in our MPA agenda. I have a friend who's currently in Japan, and he's trying to establish something like that MPA there as well. So yeah, we're trying to do that for our own organization. And yeah, Milan, you'd agree that you'd want other nonprofits to try and spread it to other countries as well, right?
Certainly. And about MPA, wait, did they not tell you? I have been trying to start MPA in Eswatini as well.
In Eswatini? Oh
Yeah,
yeah. No, I think I heard of it already. Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
think I
So,
think that's a good idea.
and like seeing these like these not youth nonprofit youth initiatives, right? Like, for example, with MPA, when I brought this to like people in Eswatini, people loved the idea. And it's like, you know, it's nice to see that like we're working together between like so like various different countries to solve these issues as well. And we are also able to raise awareness on topics, and hopefully we'll be able to start something that might be more of a positive trend as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And like with regards to these, right? And I think like, you know, like with how we're able to like, if we can increase collaboration, if we can like, you know, help like like provide people with awareness and stuff, etc., right? The more we work together, I think like the more we'll be able, like as Gen Z, of course we should work with other like, you know, people from like other generations as well. But I think we are able to really make an impact to tackle like the issues, especially those that we have that we have talked about today, these three issues, but also like issues like that are beyond these scopes as well. And of course, collaboration with millennials and boomers, of course, that would be important. But I mean, boomers, that might be in a bit of a pickle, but
It's limited to only a certain age group or a certain country. And yeah, nonprofits should recognize that. That whenever you start a nonprofit, it's this is what I like about nonprofits. It's something that it seems to make a small impact, but it is an impact. It is a step. Some people are like, "Oh, why did you even start this in the first place? What is it even doing to the world?" Okay. Well, first of all, the impact might seem small, but at least it's a step towards the betterment. Like, if I ask you today, why did you learn Chinese today? Why did you take this hour of Chinese? You're like, oh, because I learned these 5 characters. What does 5 characters do to you? Oh, I don't know. Well, you don't know yet, but 5 hours of Chinese can help improve your Chinese by loads. 10 hours can help you improve your Chinese by even more. So, if the question is, what impact do you even have? with this small nonprofit, with this small organization? Well, I'd say the answer is at least we're playing a role, at least we're helping the world go into a positive direction towards betterment. Like we're just doing our part in society.
Indeed, I do agree, and I hope that I think from wow, my accent just died. I think sorry, this is the negative consequences of being able to do too many accents. Anyways,
You can switch
so
to I don't mind. Just switch to any. I'm able to listen to any type of accent. I guarantee. I have that talent. I can distinguish between any accents.
okay, I am not gonna go into the theater mode and do the accent of the character that I have to do. But anyways,
no.
no,
Why?
no, it's no, it's not. It's offensive to a certain degree.
Okay,
The
I'm just
teacher
saying,
forced me
yeah.
to do it.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, but anyway, so I see that with Gen Z, right? I think one of the good things is that we are all I think a lot of us are starting not youth nonprofits, some for service and leadership left and right. I think maybe through what we have discussed today, and also maybe what we'll be able to think of in the future as we collaborate, I think we'll be really able to tackle the issues that we have discussed today as well. Would you guys agree?
Yeah. Like certainly, even today we've discussed having an MPA YSLC podcast. Just by today's discussion, we already got to know each other's viewpoints on a lot, and we have a new idea formation already, which is just all it takes towards taking action towards something, an idea. That is essentially what's the start of all things.
Indeed, it is, and yeah, this entire podcast is an example of it as well. Indeed,
Exactly. Yeah.
Speaking, yes, you go first.
Yep, I said exactly.
Yes, which is why I do believe that I think we should do more of these podcasts in the future. An issue with this is that, well, maybe it could actually be something good, actually, because I will be going back to Eswatini in a few weeks, and thus I might be able to interview people there as well. And they're maybe you guys in MPA can work with YSLC and stuff like this as well. With other hosts. I am not the only host here. I cannot be at three different continents at once. I'm sorry, yes. I can't clone myself.
No, you'd be overworked.
But anyways, yeah. So I guess
yeah.
Yeah, and if
hopefully you guys can be on our podcast channel as well. Actually, it's not me who's doing this. Mostly it's but I'm not sure if you've seen the Instagram post. It's called Big Talks, small talks, big ideas. We're trying to do something, but it's more of what segment of it. You guys can go check it out at the MPA Instagram page.
Sure. Okay, that plug though. Hey, yeah. All right. So yeah, if you guys in the audience have perhaps happen to be somebody who has these ideas at all, please reach us to us. Actually, wait, no, you guys don't even have to be on this podcast. Just reach us to us. Ask to join YSLC or MPA. We will consider you guys if you guys have ideas. We will because that's the end goal of our orgs, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you guys have any questions, any comments, any wanna ask, just DM us.
Indeed. And before we close for today, I do hope that perhaps in the next podcast, MJ's microphone will not be broken through 90% of it.
Yeah, MJ, we miss you.
MJ, please fix your microphone. I think it's dead.
Yeah, I think it's dead as well.
Rest in peace. But anyways, yeah, so Fafa, would you like to add anything else?
Yep, don't forget to follow MPA official Instagram page. Small Talks, Big Ideas is our official podcast channel, and Spreading Sunshine nonprofit. Also follow YSLC, one of the best nonprofits I know.
Oh, thank you very much, Fafa. And yeah, and also we would be hosting a Model United Nations conference again this August. So if you guys are interested, I would be linking the sign up link at below the video. If we are able to post this on other places, I'll also try and add those there as well. Do you really have to do that? Come on. The soundboard. Ayya. Ayya. But yeah, if you guys would like to see this trio of hosts again, please do inform us of that. I will try to arrange that if possible. And yeah, I think that will be all for the first episode of the YSLC podcast.
Yeah, like, share, and subscribe.
Aye, aye. Thank you, everyone, and see you guys later. Adios.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sayonara.